What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Leveled Up Life podcast. Brandon McCourtney is always here with Paul McClain.
Let's go, baby.
Helping you level up your life in all the areas that matter most: your faith, your family, your fitness, your finance, and your franchise. Our heart's desire is to bless you, to encourage you, to strengthen you, to give you tips, tools, maybe some motivation, maybe some inspiration. Maybe you can share, take some of our trials, our setbacks, our mistakes, and use them to your benefit, because we're just loving like that. We want to help you the best way we possibly can. So no matter where you're listening from, whether on Spotify, Apple, YouTube, do us a favor, like, comment, subscribe, and it means the world to us. And so, Paul, I'm glad to be with you, bro. You've been running around, flying around the country, going crazy, running, seems like 30 businesses at once. I'm glad you're here, man.
Which is not a good idea, by the way. So you're like, that's what I should do. No, that's not what you should do at all. Don't do that. But man, it's been good. And I think that the one thing I'm reminded of is how important it is to have just like great association.
Yeah.
And then great questions to the great association.
That's
so
good.
if you can get around good people and ask good questions, it produces good thoughts, right? And those good thoughts are going to lead you to the actions you take and the life that you ultimately live. And so I think today, you came up with this idea just now. You're like, hey, man, why don't we just go through some questions that we've had asked over the last 12 months, that more common questions, right? We engage with different groups, different people. Like I talk to a lot of people in the secular world, or that's different businesses. Like, hey, what about this? What about that? You have a lot of questions throughout the week with the church and the different people that come and say, hey, what about this? What about that? And at the end of the day, for me, let me just say this, like, I think that, the person that asks questions and that's seeking help, man, like, people want to help. Yeah. They want to give back. They want to. Some of the stuff that's the most rewarding that I've experienced the last week with some of my traveling is people asking questions and me being able to kind of put their shoes on and say, man, I used to be in that spot. I used to kind of deal with that same thing, and then being on the other side of it, thinking about the 3 ways I failed to finally get to the answer I'm going to provide, and how rewarding it is to know that, hey, maybe you get to kind of sidestep some of those pitfalls and pratfalls because of the answer I'm going to give based on the question that you asked. And so it's said multiple times, the quality of your questions determines the quality of your life. And so we've got some really good questions that, people have brought to us and we've gone back and forth with. And so I'm going to ask you the first one, dude.
Let's go.
All right, so the first one is, what's harder, leading people or leading yourself?
Well, first of all, it's a good question. I think they're both hard in different ways, right? So I would say, that's a good one. I would say probably leading others is probably harder because I can't control them.
Yeah.
Right? So I can control myself. I can control my action. I can control, what time I wake up. I can control my activity. I can control my attitude. I can control how I respond. I can control, what I'm putting into something. But I can't control other people.
Yeah.
Right? And so I can do my best to encourage, to equip, to inspire, to resource. But at the end of the day, they still got to make the decision. Yeah. And so my philosophy is always like lead from the front. Mm-hmm. And so if I'm trying to lead other people, it's like, am I doing that thing myself first? And I found in my experience, if I'm willing to do the thing that I'm asking other people to do, well, then it makes leading them all the better, right? Because they see me in the fight with them. Yeah. They see me going through the struggle, if you will, with them. Therefore, they can follow my footsteps. And so for me, I would say it's much harder to lead people than to lead myself because of the uncontrollable. But at the same time, man, it is hard to lead yourself sometimes as well too, because like there's two sides to you. Like there's a side that knows what to do, and then there's the other default side to us that's just like, well, I don't feel like doing that. I don't want to do that. And so there's this competing voice in your head, at least for me, that's back and forth all the time. So you got to overcome the lie, the accuser, the voice, the default setting, and do the thing that you're supposed to do. And that's difficult as well. Yeah. And so I think just like your confidence grows when you keep the promises that you make to yourself, right? Mm-hmm. And so when you actually do the thing that you said you were going to do, well, then leading yourself becomes that much easier. And then as you lead others, you're speaking from a place of authority, of conviction, of passion, because, man, you've done it first yourself. It is not coming from a place of, well, I'm just saying this but never done this. That makes sense?
Yeah, dude, 100%.
And so...
so good, dude. It got me thinking about... and I think I said this a couple weeks ago on a podcast, but it's worth, like, revisiting. This story of Gandhi, like, this mom goes and she's like, hey, can you tell my kid to stop eating sugar? And he's like, okay, come back in 3 days. She brings the kid back in 3 days. He's like, can you tell my kid to stop eating sugar. He's like, all right, stop eating sugar. She's like, why didn't you tell me that 3 days ago? Like, right. He's like, well, because I had to stop eating sugar.
That's good.
And it really kind of goes to what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Like, and dude, I see that in you though too. Because let me, as you're saying that, I'm thinking like of impactful people. You can tell when somebody's delivering a message, delivering a talk, speaking from stage, having one-on-one conversations. You can kind of tell. You can really tell if they're living it, right? They're just. Yeah. If you're one thing I realized when I started, speaking and communicating on different stage and platforms, I wanted to always make sure that I was doing whatever I'm getting ready to communicate at the highest level. And if I wasn't, I just decided not to speak about that. Yeah. And then I'd go out there and do it so I earned the right. Meaning that this is how I would look at leadership. If I'm like, man, my team really needs to learn and back in the day it was like taking travel trips, right? I had my own little territory that I would go to. And it was consistent lead flow. Dude, it was easy. It was predictable. It provided great fruit. But the reality is most agents couldn't go do that because we only could produce so many leads at the time as direct mail. And I remember starting to talk about like, just do some travel trips. Right. Like you got to travel. And I'd communicate that and nobody was really doing it, right? But then I started to go out to Modesto and all these different areas and I traveled long distances. I would get on a flight to go run production. Now, when I got up, I was saying the same message. And even if I didn't tell them that I had just done it, the way I said the message, it held so much authority and authenticity because I had done it, right?
100%.
And so I feel like the same thing when, I hear so many people like, man, Brand's message impacted me in such a mighty way. Well, for one, God's got his hand on the message, yes, and he's working through you. But you're also doing a great job being obedient and living the message you're communicating. Right, you're not getting up there and saying something that you're not living out, and I think that's such an important thing from a leadership standpoint of leading yourself. To me, that's the harder thing to lead is myself because I can like it's harder to lead somebody else in the sense that you can't control them, like you said.
Right.
But at the end of the day, like for me, man, like I know what I need to do, but then having the ability and will, to do it. That's difficult. Like me, that I know all this stuff in my mind of what to do and the success principles and the concepts. Yeah. It's kind of like knowing the word really, really well and having it all in your head, but you're not tested yet. You're not lived it out. I mean, you can know it all, man, but it's hard to lead yourself with it. It's different. That's the rub, right? I love like what the Apostle Paul says. Like, dude, he's like in this. He knows what to do, but he's like, I don't do it.
Yeah, yeah.
And this is like the guy that wrote most of the New Testament. And I remember reading that and being so encouraged, like, man, if that guy has a hard time leading himself.
That's good. It's a good thought.
Well, then I probably am going to have a hard time leading myself. That doesn't make it okay to not lead myself well, but it makes you realize that I got to do some work, man. I got to be intentional. I got to create some disciplines that actually allow myself to lead myself well and not get distracted, pulled into temptation, pulled into a lower level. That I got to set those parameters up. You know what I mean?
Dude, very good. I mean, I concur and agree with everything you're saying because there's nothing like leading others in something that you haven't done yourself. Yeah. And then when you actually have done it, well, now you're speaking from a place of authority. Yeah. And like when you're talking about your travel trips, well, now you could actually teach on things so much better because you got stories, you got insight. Like there's certain things that you don't know if you've never done it, right? So I can teach something in principle, but then in the practicals of it, like maybe because I haven't gone through that, I can't speak on it the way that you can, right? And so I love that. I mean, either way, they're both difficult, and they're both, yeah. So here's a second question. Speaking of discipline, what's a better leadership trait that you would say, maybe not for you, but as you're bringing on, I know we got a bunch of youngsters here in the office that are just kind of coming up, figuring out life, figuring out leadership and kind of their role. What would you look for in a person to have more kind of big vision? Like, man, I want this and I want that. Here's why I want it. They're able to articulate a big vision well, and they're ambitious. Or someone who's just like super disciplined, but just like, hey, I'll show up. I'll work hard. Both? Yeah, of course.
I mean, it's almost like
you want both, right?
Those are. I mean, I think two is probably the most important traits of a leader, right?
But sometimes you can get someone who's super disciplined, but just like
lacks vision.
I just show up and do my job. I do what I'm supposed to do, but like.
To me, like, if I got to pick one, like, for one, both, right? Yeah. Like, you want vision and discipline. And I love the analogy you said about, like, these guys coming on board because you're self-employed. The definition of self-employed is you're leading yourself. you're not an employee being led by somebody, being told what to do, when to do it, how to do it, why to do it. Now it's up to you to choose. Every choice you make is on you. Like, what do I choose to do? And so I think I would say, Brand, like discipline first. Just because like a person that lacks discipline, they'll never make a vision come to pass.
Yeah, that's good.
So they may be a person of vision, but I believe that vision is just going to be wishful thinking because they don't have the disciplines to actually make the vision become a reality. And so I would probably say discipline. I love the quote. I think Jocko Willink says, like, man, discipline equals freedom. And it's like the reality of like when you can kind of discipline yourself and have that self-control. And I've always thought this, man, like out of all the fruits of the Spirit, probably the one that to me seems to be one of the most important is self-control.
Yeah.
I mean, because like if you don't have control of oneself, man, it's going to be a life full of highs and lows and peaks and like it's going to be an emotionally unstable life, right? And that's not a life worth living or a life you want to live. And so I think discipline first of all, because if you're not disciplined as a leader, dude, you're gonna self-destruct.
Yeah.
You know, you're not gonna get nothing done. You're gonna have all these desires to go somewhere, but you absolutely go nowhere. And once you're disciplined, I think a person that's disciplined and they have that self-confidence that comes from self-discipline, now they can kind of sit back and they've got some confidence of themselves. And so now as they sit there, they can paint a better vision of this disciplined version, making to these new levels. So I think discipline could provide and produce vision, but I believe vision doesn't necessarily always produce discipline.
I think, if you study leadership and especially the best leaders and you pull all the commonalities, like you see, they're all extremely disciplined. Like there's probably a lot of routine in their day, which can become mundane or boring, but it's like it's that discipline and structure that gives them the ability to produce at a massive level. Yeah. And so I think the reason most people, like you said, live such a up and down, high and low life is because they lack discipline, right? And so there's no consistency in their habits. There's no consistency in their reactions in their relationships. And so it's kind of just like the Bible would say, like you're tossed to and fro by every wind and wave that comes your way instead of being planted and having like discipline, right? And so,
what's the other scripture about like looking in the mirror?
Bro, I don't know. Me asking me scripture on a podcast. You know what I'm saying? People, it's a good one though, whatever it is.
Well, I think it's James. It's like you're double-minded, right? You look in the mirror and then
double-minded man is unstable in all of his ways.
Yeah, I mean, I think that it's kind of like you could have vision. That's like looking in the mirror, right? And seeing the best version of yourself, seeing where God's called you to, what you could accomplish, what you could do, the impact you could have. But then I believe, like, to me, it's like if you look, the double-mindedness is like, I've seen the vision, but now I'm not doing the action.
Yeah, that's the worst place to be. It's the worst place to be when you can see what could be, but then you don't lack the discipline to do it.
It's like faith without works is dead.
100%.
That's exact. So faith is vision.
Right.
It's confidence what you hope for.
Yeah.
Which means it's not here because hope in the present is called accomplishment. Yeah. So it's what you hope for, confidence in that, but then you go take a step and the step doesn't reflect it.
Yeah.
Well, that's a lack of discipline.
Well,
so
it's like
I got it now.
There you go.
Discipline over vision.
That's right. Yeah, you're better off not having the vision.
Yeah, choose discipline
at all, right? If you lack the discipline to move forward.
We didn't prepare for none of this stuff.
Let's go. That's good.
I've got it now. Discipline.
All right,
we got to walk ourselves.
All right, here we go. Would you rather have a team that's loyal or a team that's talented?
I'll do loyal for sure.
Yeah, loyal all day. That's an easy one. Which is harder, giving feedback or receiving it?
Like for me?
Yeah.
I mean, I'd probably say like it's easier, I think, giving feedback.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, I think like that could be tough both ways, right? It depends on who you're getting it from and who you're giving it to.
Yeah.
I think that's kind of the condition.
Yeah, I'm thinking about like sometimes I'll get like emails from church or like people coming up to me and like giving feedback. I'm like, listen, Sally, I appreciate your feedback, but like, I don't.
Pastor, you should not have wore that hat on Sunday.
Yeah. So I guess I mean, you're right. It depends on who's giving it to you. Yeah,
like if you're giving me feedback, doing stuff, like I'm going to listen. I respect you.
Right.
But if somebody else gives me feedback, I try to open my mind because I believe I can learn something from everybody. Yeah. But it's also what context are they giving me the feedback on something that they're an expert in and that they should have an opinion on. Like, I had a conversation with somebody a while back and they're like, you should ask this person and this person how they feel about this and that. And it was just something going on in the business. And I said, dude, with all due respect, I don't care what their opinion is.
Yeah.
Like, unless they're crushing it and they're killing it in the thing that they're actually criticizing, they don't have an opinion.
Right.
And they might have it, but it's not what I want to hear.
Right.
And so I guess if they were to give me feedback, it'd be very hard to receive it.
For sure.
And then sometimes it's hard to give feedback depending on where you're at in that hierarchy, so to speak, right? Like if you're watching this podcast, you're in a like, say you're working for, somebody, and like, I really should give feedback, because if I give feedback to the leader, the boss, it can really unmask some problems that are going to come down the road. But I don't want to also come across in a way that damages a relationship or makes them feel a certain way. And so you have this fear and trepidation. So I think that can be a tough time to want to give it.
Yeah.
And so I just think that, man, like at the end of the day, when I'm giving it or receiving it, my heart posture's got to be good. And that's not an easy thing to have, but I have to be in a position where I'm like, all right, God, give me the words of wisdom, so when I craft this feedback I'm going to give, like I'm getting ready to give somebody some feedback when I get out of this podcast, right? But I got to do it in truth and love.
Yeah.
If I don't go intentionally, like say, okay, this is not about me trying to seek satisfaction because I'm irritated by this, and so I could go kill him on it, or I could just sit back and say, how do I get the result that's going to be leveling up that person and leveling up the relationship? So I think that's,
well, I think that's probably, well, I know that's definitely better well done than most people. Like most people don't give that much thought to how they're going to give feedback. It's typically like, how can I tell this to this person so I can get a better result for me, as opposed to how can I bless this person so they quit making this mistake, right? So I think number one, it's the relationship, right? Like what you said, like there has to be some sort of relationship there. I know, like when Mariah gives me feedback, I listen. Mm-hmm. It's like, if anyone can give me feedback, it's her, because she sees it all, right? And so I respect her opinion. Why? Because she's the closest to me. So I think when you say like for me or for you or for people that are close, man, it's easy to receive if there's a relationship there. It's much harder if that, some dude out here has a big ego and he thinks he's done something, then wants to speak into your life and they got no context. So couple more, yeah?
Yeah.
Let's see.
Well, let me ask you next one.
Right,
let me find a good one, dude.
I got a good one for you. Number 19 is a good one for you.
Stronger legacy. What?
Let us know if you got a question for us. Put it in the comments. We would love to answer any questions that you got, or maybe DM one of us. We want to serve you the best way we can.
Should leaders focus more on growth or stability? That's a good one.
That's a real good one. I think in the beginning, you got to grow.
Yeah.
Like I ain't trying to be stably at zero. Like I remember when we first started the church, it was good to have 20 people there, but I wasn't trying to stay there, right? And so I think it can't always be a place of just constant growth, because you do have to like, you got to grow. Like there's growth and there's plateaus and there's growth for a reason. Like, and I think that as you grow and you steward the thing that's growing well, then God gives you lessons and new vision and new resource and new people for the next area of growth. And so stability is great. I think when you get something to a place of, man, like right now, our church is growing, but I'm almost like, all right, Lord, give us a couple weeks of just like.
Let me ask you this. So could you grow and it be a bad thing because
for
that
sure
of what's grown has not been stewarded well?
Well, yes, but that may not be the only reason. It could just be like because you've outgrown your systems, or you've outgrown your own level of leadership. You've outgrown your building. Like you've just outgrown your capacity, and it's actually a burden now and not a blessing because you didn't get the systems done right. And that doesn't mean you did anything wrong. It could just be like, man, our marketing was so dang good that now we got all these new leads and we got me and you in here trying to call them.
So now you got to stabilize the growth.
So you got to stabilize it because you almost got to like turn off the faucet of like leads coming in or whatever it is, because you got to get some stability and structure and systems and back end. If not, you'll ruin the blessing that's coming in.
That's good.
Right. So I think any organization or church or whatever it is that's growing, praise God that it's growing, but like you don't want it to grow to a place where you can't manage it. Right. And so it's like, when I think about the church, man, we grew from 0 to 50 real quick, and then it's like 50 to 200. So there's always like these incremental growths, and it's always like planned growth, right? And I mean, that's at least how I want it. I mean, I know initially when you have nothing, you're like, just let it grow, and I'll deal with it later. And there's like, I think that's probably the right way to look at it. But I think as you've done it for a while, you want both.
I think that's great, dude. I think you said it perfectly well. As you're speaking, I'm tying things in my mind together. It's kind of like in the beginning when you're looking for stability, you're overcomplicating things that probably don't need to be stable, or areas where you don't need to stabilize, and you only uncover that once you start to grow.
Yeah.
Like once you start to do something, you're like, oh, I thought that was important,
right,
to have X, Y, Z in line. It's like, no, dude, that wasn't important at all.
Yeah.
And that only became evident when you actually grew, when you actually had some results and some progress. And then there's been times in my business where I've grown so much, and I'm just focused on that. I don't realize that, man, there's stuff falling apart,
100%.
the foundation's cracking. And until I get that fixed, the whole thing might fall, even though it looks really pretty. It looks good, but, that'd be like somebody looking really good on the outside, physically fit, but they got something internally really, really wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I love that, man. It's very good.
All right, here's one for you, and maybe we'll wrap up pretty soon. What's the biggest test of a leader, would you say, is more important or even better for them moving forward in their business? Would it be, a major success, a milestone that they reach? Like, is that more of a catapulting like thing that could launch them into the next phase of life, or would it be a failure, like hard lessons learned, things that they've gone through that hurt? Like, what's a better kind of, because both can be both, like, obviously one doesn't feel good in the moment, but it could also be something that gives you a newer vision or a better strength that you didn't have before. And we talked about this for, when you went through your Job season last couple of years. It's like we were joking, but we were being serious. Like, dude, there's nothing that's going to be able to like mess you up moving forward. Yeah. Like, it's like from this moment forward, like, get out of your way. You know what I mean? So what would you say is a
yeah, I mean, I think both, dude. That's another one. It's like really kind of, it depends on the person as far as the biggest test of a leader. Depends on the leader, because I think I've seen success be the greatest test for somebody, and I've seen failure be the greatest test for somebody. I've seen people, kind of be okay and be leading their life, and then they have success, and they read their own press clippings, and that draws kind of a wedge between them and God, and they become their own kind of God, and they stop stewarding other areas of their life. It's kind of like the whole level up life concept is specific to maybe a person like that. Like, you've really reached great success maybe as an entrepreneur in business, but then that great success has caused you to lead your family wrong, or lead your relationships outside of that wrong. And so I think I've seen success kill people, dude. And sometimes people, the other part of success being a great test is some people are scared to take movement because they're scared of getting success and not knowing how to manage it, hold it, handle it, and then getting it and losing it. Yeah. So there's a lot of things tied to that.
Right.
But then failure also is a great test. It's kind of like Mike Tyson says, like, you can say all you want to say and you look tough until you get punched in the face, right?
Like, everyone's got a plan until they get punched in the
Everyone's
face.
got a plan. So, like, I got the biggest plan, I got the greatest vision, wham, you get smoked. It's like, well, hey, let's see how committed you are to it. And so I think failure a lot of times will test commitment. And then I think commitment is probably one of the greatest things you have to actually find a high level of leadership and success in whatever you're leading. You've got to have commitment to it. And so that's what I'd say. I think both are very important with determining a test of your leadership.
Well, I'm just saying, Lord, if you want to test me, send success my way. We'll figure out that test, Lord. And the last one, I think we'll wrap here. If you had to sum up leadership in one word, I think I got my word. I think I probably know what you're going to say too, but leadership in one word for you, what would it be?
Leadership in one word?
Yeah.
I would say influence. I think, to me, leadership is influence. And so I love, Maxwell says it, and I've heard him say it multiple times, and I've tried to sit back and, it's when somebody's like, hey, give a definition of success, and you've heard somebody say it really well, you're like, I don't know, I kind of want to copy them because I feel like it's the right one. I think leadership is influence. And the reality is when people come to the realization that they are a leader because it is influence, and they don't stop saying, like, I'm not a leader because I'm not the boss, I'm not a leader because that's crap. Like, you have influence. Who do you influence? And the question then is, are you leading them well? Are you stewarding that well? Because all the blessings and vision that you hope for, it's on the other side of probably you stewarding what you got in front of you well now, so God can see your ability increase and not just give you one talent, but give you 5.
That's good. I mean, I agree 100%. Leadership is influence. I would say leadership, if I had to give it one word, is service, right? Yeah. So the greatest leader, as great as John Maxwell is, he's not the greatest leader ever. The greatest leader that ever walked the earth was Jesus. And he said, I didn't come to be served, but rather I came to serve. Yeah. And so that's, obviously, John Maxwell is a man of God, and the principles come from the same place. But I would just say, and this is true in my life, as the organization gets bigger, as the business gets bigger, as your influence grows, the influence is meant to what? Influence the people you're leading. So how do you do that? By serving them, right? Good. And so the greatest leaders that I've ever been under or I've ever been around are the biggest servants, right? So they're always thinking about, how can I bless my people? How can I take care of my people? How can I influence my people to do the right things? Not for their sake, but not for the leader's sake, but for the person that they're leading sake. And so I would agree, man, wholeheartedly. Leadership is influence. Leadership is service. Leadership is sacrifice. And
I appreciate your leadership, bro.
I appreciate you, man.
All right, guys. Hey, make sure to like, share this, and subscribe. If you want to serve somebody, then share this. That'll be the greatest gift you can give them this week, possibly, is them being able to hear some of these questions unpacked and give them some perspective to go out there and tackle their success or their failure at a higher level. So, guys, we love you. Make it a big week. Stay strong. Be steadfast. And we'll talk to you next week. God bless you guys.